The restaurant fell silent as Emma's words hung in the air between them. Why did you really come tonight instead of your brother? Her eyes, soft yet penetrating, held his gaze across the candlelit table. Mark's carefully constructed story crumbled in an instant. How could she possibly know? If you've ever wondered how a simple question could change someone's life forever, stay with me until the end of this incredible journey. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the unexpected ways love finds us. Mark Donovan stared at his phone, thumb hovering over the decline button as his brother's name flashed on the screen. It was the third time Jason had called in the last hour. With a resigned sigh, he answered. I can't do it, Mark. I just can't. Jason's voice came through, panic evident in every syllable. Slow down. What can't you do? Mark balanced the phone between his ear and shoulder as he continued folding his 7-year-old daughter's laundry. The date tonight. The blind date Sarah set up. I'm freaking out. Mark rolled his eyes. His brother had always been this way, confident in business but completely terrified of dating since his divorce 3 years ago. Jason, we've been through this. You need to get back out there. It's just dinner. I know. But I got a call from Chicago. The Henderson account is falling apart, and if I don't jump on a video call in an hour, we could lose the whole deal. It's millions, Mark. Mark set down the tiny pink t-shirt he'd been folding. So reschedule the date. I can't. Sarah will kill me. This is the third time I've backed out of meeting someone she set up. Plus, she says this woman is perfect for me. Emma something. A pediatric nurse. Sweet, smart, great with kids. Mark thought of his daughter, Lily, asleep in the next room. Since losing his wife to cancer 2 years ago, he'd thrown himself into being both mother and father to their little girl. Dating wasn't even on his radar. What exactly are you asking me, Jason? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Go in my place. Mark laughed, but when Jason didn't join in, he realized his brother was serious. You want me to impersonate you on a blind date? That's insane. Not impersonate. Just meet her, explain the situation, maybe have dinner so she doesn't feel stood up. Tell her I had an emergency but I'm very interested in rescheduling. Please, Mark. I'm desperate here. This is a terrible idea. Mrs. Abernathy is available to watch Lily. I already called her. Mark pinched the bridge of his nose. You called my babysitter before calling me? I knew you'd say no right away. Look, when was the last time you had a night out? A real adult conversation? Just do this for me, and I'll owe you big time. Mark glanced at the pile of laundry, the stack of bills on his desk, and the children's books scattered across the floor. A night out did sound appealing, even if it was just to let down some stranger gently. Fine, he finally said. But you owe me. Big time. The restaurant was nicer than Mark had expected, white tablecloths, soft lighting, and quiet enough for actual conversation. He felt underdressed in his navy blazer and jeans, the nicest things he could find in his closet that still fit properly. He hadn't been to a place like this since before Lily was born. Mr. Donovan? The hostess approached with a warm smile. Your guest has arrived. Right this way. Mark followed her through the restaurant, rehearsing what he would say. He'd explain the situation immediately, apologize for the deception, and offer to call her a cab if she wanted to leave. Simple, straightforward, no harm done. All his plans evaporated the moment he saw her. Emma Bennett sat at a corner table, her chestnut hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She wore a simple blue dress and was reading something on her phone, a slight furrow between her brows. When she looked up and smiled, Mark felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a flutter of genuine interest. Jason? She asked, standing to greet him. The name jolted him back to reality. This wasn't his date. He was here under false pretenses, and he needed to clear that up immediately. Actually, he began, but was interrupted by the waiter arriving to take their drink orders. "I'll have a glass of the house red," Emma said. "The same," Mark added, deciding to delay his confession until after the waiter left. "It's nice to finally meet you," Emma said once they were alone. "Sarah has told me so much about you." "All good things, I hope," Mark replied automatically, then winced at how he was already playing along. "Mostly," Emma laughed. "She said you're brilliant with numbers but terrible with time management. Always running late to everything." Mark smiled despite himself. "That was Jason to AT, guilty as charged." "She didn't mention how tall you are, though," Emma continued, studying him. "Or that you have a scar above your eyebrow." Mark's hand instinctively went to the small scar he'd gotten from a childhood biking accident. "Oh, that's your drinks," the waiter announced, placing 2 glasses of wine on the table. "Are you ready to order, or do you need more time?" Emma looked at Mark. "I haven't even looked at the menu yet." "A few more minutes, please," Mark told the waiter, who nodded and disappeared. Now was the time. He needed to come clean before this went any further. But as he opened his mouth to speak, Emma beat him to it. "You're not Jason, are you?" The question hit him like a bucket of ice water. What makes you say that?" Emma's smile was gentle but knowing. "Sarah showed me a picture of Jason. You look similar, but not identical. Plus, she mentioned he has a brother who's a single dad. You have a slight indentation on your ring finger where a wedding band used to be, and there's a small stain on your sleeve that looks suspiciously like children's grape juice." Mark looked down at his sleeve in surprise. He thought he'd gotten that stain out. "I'm so sorry," he said, feeling his face flush with embarrassment. "Jason had a work emergency, and he didn't want to stand you up again. I was supposed to explain right away, but then..." He gestured helplessly. "But then you decided to see how long you could keep up the charade?" There was no anger in her voice, just curiosity. "No. I was going to tell you immediately. I just got distracted." He met her eyes. "I'm Mark, by the way. Jason's older brother." "Emma," she replied, though of course he already knew that. "So, Mark, now that we've established you're not who I was expecting to have dinner with, what happens next? Are you going to call it a night?" He should. The reasonable thing would be to apologize again, maybe cover her glass of wine, and leave. But something made him hesitate. "That depends," he said slowly. "Would you like me to go?" Emma considered him for a moment, then picked up her menu. "I'm actually quite hungry. And curious. It's not every day a stranger pretends to be his brother to have dinner with me." Relief washed over him. "I wasn't pretending to be him. Not really. I was working up to explaining." She murmured, eyes on the menu but a smile playing at her lips. "What's good here?" And just like that, they fell into conversation. Mark explained about Jason's last-minute work crisis, and Emma shared how Sarah had been trying to set her up for months. "I almost canceled too," she admitted. "Blind dates aren't really my thing. But Sarah was so insistent that Jason and I would hit it off." "She might be right," Mark said. "Jason's a great guy. Terrible with time management, as you know, but great with people. Successful. Funny when he's not nervous." "You're selling your brother pretty hard for someone who's currently enjoying his date," Emma observed. Mark felt his cheeks warm. Force of habit. "I've been trying to get him back in the dating world since his divorce. He deserves to be happy." "And what about you?" Emma asked, her voice softening. "Do you deserve to be happy too?" The question caught him off guard. "I am happy. I have Lily, my daughter. She's 7, and she's everything. Emma nodded, understanding in her eyes. Sarah mentioned Jason's brother lost his wife. I'm very sorry. Thank you, Mark said quietly. It's been 2 years now. Cancer. Lily barely remembers her mom, which breaks my heart sometimes. That must be incredibly difficult, Emma said. For both of you. Before Mark could respond, the waiter returned for their orders. The conversation shifted to lighter topics, their jobs, favorite movies, places they'd traveled. Mark found himself laughing more than he had in months. Emma was easy to talk to, quick-witted, and genuinely interested in what he had to say. When she talked about her work as a pediatric nurse, her whole face lit up. The kids are amazing, she said. Even on their worst days, they find reasons to smile. They teach me more about resilience than I could ever teach them about health. Lily's like that, Mark found himself saying. After her mom died, there were days I could barely get out of bed. But Lily would come bouncing in, ready for pancakes and cartoons, and I'd have to pull myself together. Kids don't give you the luxury of falling apart. Emma reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. You sound like a wonderful father. I'm trying, he said. Some days are better than others. As the evening progressed, Mark realized he hadn't thought about the time once. He hadn't checked his phone for texts from the babysitter or worried about getting home. For the first time in years, he was fully present in a moment that was just for him. When the dessert menus came, Emma glanced at her watch and looked surprised. It's almost 10. I had no idea we'd been talking so long. I should probably get home to Lily, Mark said, though he was reluctant for the evening to end. Mrs. Abernathy has school tomorrow. Of course, Emma said. This was unexpected, but really nice. It was, Mark agreed. I'm sorry again about the deception. Emma shook her head. I figured it out pretty quickly. And I'm glad it was you who showed up instead of Jason. The comment hung between them, full of possibility. Mark signaled for the check, his mind racing. He wanted to see her again, but the circumstances were bizarre. She was supposed to be his brother's date. Would Jason be upset? Would it be inappropriate to ask for her number? As they waited for the check, Emma fixed him with a thoughtful look. Why did you really come tonight instead of your brother? The question was simple but penetrating. Mark could have given the easy answer, that he was doing his brother a favor. But something in Emma's eyes made him want to be completely honest. I think I needed this more than I realized, he said slowly. For 2 years, I've been dad and nothing else. Tonight reminded me that I'm still Mark too. That I can still connect with someone. Emma nodded, her expression soft. And did you? Connect with someone? Mark met her gaze. Yes. I did. The waiter brought the check, breaking the moment. Mark insisted on paying, and Emma didn't argue. As they walked out of the restaurant into the cool night air, an awkward silence fell between them. So, Mark began, about Jason. Emma laughed. I think we both know I won't be going on a date with Jason. Relief flooded through him. No? No, she confirmed. But I would like to go on another date with his brother. If he's interested. Mark couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. He's definitely interested. But there's something you should know first. What's that? Lily is part of the package deal. My dating life has been non-existent because she's my priority. Emma's expression grew serious. As it should be. I wouldn't expect anything less. She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card, handing it to him. My number. Call me when you're ready for that second date. And Mark? Maybe next time, bring Lily. I make excellent chocolate chip pancakes. As he watched her walk to her car, Mark felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, hope. Not just the day-to-day hope of making it through another week of school lunches and bedtime stories, but hope for something more. Something that had seemed impossible just hours ago. He looked down at the business card in his hand and smiled. He had a lot to explain to Jason, but somehow, he didn't think his brother would mind too much. After all, this wasn't how the evening was supposed to go for any of them. But sometimes, the best things in life happen when plans fall apart. The next morning, Mark woke to Lily bouncing on his bed, her pigtails flying. "Daddy! Mrs. Abernathy said you went on a date. Did you meet a princess? Was she pretty? Will I get to meet her?" Mark laughed, pulling his daughter into a hug. "Slow down, kiddo. It wasn't exactly a date. Just dinner with a friend." "Was she nice?" Lily persisted. Mark thought of Emma's kind eyes and the way she'd seen through his charade immediately but stayed anyway. "Yes, she was very nice. And guess what? She's a nurse who takes care of children at the hospital." Lily's eyes widened. "Like when I had to get my tonsils out?" "Exactly like that. And she makes chocolate chip pancakes. Better than yours?" Lily asked skeptically. "We might have to find out someday," Mark said, tickling her until she dissolved into giggles. Later, as he packed Lily's lunch for school, his phone buzzed with a text from Jason. "How did it go? Did you explain? Is she mad at me?" Mark stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Finally, he typed, "We need to talk. Coffee after I drop Lily at school?" Jason's reply was immediate. "That bad? I'm sorry, bro. See you at groundwork at 8:30. Mark smiled to himself as he slipped his phone back into his pocket. He had a feeling this conversation wasn't going to go the way Jason expected. But then again, nothing about last night had gone according to plan. And he wouldn't have it any other way. Jason was already at the coffee shop when Mark arrived, 2 large cups on the table in front of him and an anxious expression on his face. "That bad, huh?" Jason asked as Mark slid into the seat across from him. Mark took a sip of the coffee, black, 2 sugars, just how he liked it. "Not exactly." "What does that mean? Did she figure out you weren't me? Is she going to tell Sarah? Am I going to have to move to avoid the humiliation?" Mark couldn't help but laugh at his brother's dramatics. "Yes, she figured it out almost immediately. No, I don't think she's going to tell Sarah, at least not the whole story. And no, you don't need to move." Jason relaxed slightly. "So what happened?" "We had dinner. We talked. It was nice." "Nice?" Jason repeated, studying his brother's face. "Wait a minute. You like her?" It wasn't a question. Mark shrugged, trying to appear casual. "She's easy to talk to." A slow grin spread across Jason's face. "You really like her? This is fantastic." "Fantastic?" Mark echoed, confused. "I thought you were interested in her. That's why you set up the date in the first place." Jason waved a dismissive hand. "I was interested in the idea of dating again, not in Emma specifically. I've never even met her. This is perfect. You met someone, I'm off the hook with Sarah, everybody wins." "It's not that simple," Mark protested. "What about Sarah? Won't she be upset that her matchmaking went sideways?" "Are you kidding? Sarah will be thrilled. She's been trying to set you up for months, but you always refuse. She'll count this as a win, trust me." Mark sat back, processing this information. "So you're really okay with this? Me seeing Emma?" Jason's expression softened. "Mark, you've been alone for 2 years, focused entirely on Lily. If you found someone who makes you want to date again, I'm all for it. Besides," he added with a grin, "this gets me off the hook for blind dates for at least a few months." Mark shook his head, smiling despite himself. You're impossible. But lovable, Jason countered. So, when are you seeing?